Why did you buy a property in Egypt? I wanted to get rid of my safety net. And I'm thinking, what the fuck do you mean get rid of your safety net? What's that got to do with buying a property in Egypt? So let me try and keep this story as short and sweet as possible. Because you know what JWise is like. We'll make a 20-minute video and I've only got 10 minutes to respond to this comment. So I'm not Egyptian, British born Jamaican, but basically what happened was, let's say when I bought this house, which was my first house in 2017, I was self-employed as an electrician. I had a little vending machine business going and that. And I was living the high life. You know what I'm saying, waking up whatever time I want, getting a little bit of money from my vending machine business, doing little bits of electrical work and here and there. I had like 10 grand left in my bank account. And I thought to myself, like, obviously at some point before that, I had like 15 grand in my bank account. And I noticed like every month, that 15 grand was going down to 14, to 13, to 12 grand. And I thought to myself, within a year, if I continue living like this, I ain't gonna have no money. I ain't gonna have nothing to show for the last 12 months and that. So I need to take myself out of the comfort zone. Like I said, I was living, you know, the high life and that. I need to get myself out of this comfort zone. The only way I can do that is by getting rid of my money and throwing myself in the deep end. So I thought to myself, right, well, I'm not going to blow the money. You know, I'm not going to go and buy a Moncler. I'm not going to get a fucking Mercedes. So I thought to myself, I need to invest this money somewhere, somehow. And, you know, leave myself with literally nothing so that I force myself to go and get a proper job. Because the electrical work I was doing was not picking up. It wasn't sustainable for a long period of time for the foreseeable future. So anyway, I swear, I must have heard someone say this one time before, you know. Like, and this is after I'd done this. Like, the greatest ideas you have is when you wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Or some madness like that. Literally, that happened to me. There was one morning, this time I was living at my mum's house. I owned this property that I've got here, but I was still living at my mum's house in Edmonton. And I woke up at like 4 in the morning and I was looking at Zoopla. Now I used Zoopla to find this property. So I was looking at Zoopla and I noticed it was like an overseas section, like properties abroad. So I just clicked it. So I was looking at some properties in America and that. And yeah, the properties were too expensive for me to put down 10 grand as a deposit. Now there probably were some properties in that, but anyway. So I looked at America just out of curiosity and that. And I noticed like, yo, they had like an A to Z of countries in that. Let's say the first country is Antigua and the last country is Zimbabwe, yeah? So I started going through all the countries. Obviously, I set the filter to a property that's worth 100 grand, meaning that I can put down a 10% deposit, which is 10 grand. So I started going through all the countries and that. So A, B, C, whatever and that. Got to Bulgaria and literally you could buy a house in Bulgaria for £4,000. Maybe it was like 5,000 euros because obviously the conversion rate in it is poor. So anyway, I was actually making inquiries and that, like, to buy a property in Bulgaria. Never got round to it. Do you know what it is? I'm such a madman. I'm such a man that thinks outside the box. I wanted to do a little bit of research about Bulgaria. Do you know what I used to do? Because at the time, I used to use Tinder. And you know Tinder, you can set your search and your filter to outside of the country and that. So anyway, I was messaging chicks in Bulgaria, asking them, oh, what's this area like? There's a place called Sofia. I don't know if that's the capital of Bulgaria, but it's definitely a well-known place. What's this area like? What's that area like? I'm naming areas that have come up in the search. Because obviously when you search for properties and that, it will tell you what areas the properties are in. Manchester, Northampton, Edmonton, whatever in it, yeah? So I was saying to the girls, do you think it's a good idea to buy a property in this area, that area, this area, that area? They was like, yo, that's like the countryside. That's the sticks, basically what they were saying, innit? So anyway, boom. Cut the long story short. The next place in line that I found that was affordable was Egypt. And I don't even know. Next thing you know, I'm making a couple inquiries and that. What I did is obviously I was a bit unsure about buying a property in Egypt. So basically, there's an estate agents, like overseas estate agents. They're based in the UK. They're actually based in Manchester, called Rivermead Global. They still exist now, and they they have like their own Facebook page. So I've gone onto their Facebook page and I've seen the testimonies, alleged testimonies, yeah, because they could get people to write fake testimonies and reviews, obviously. Yeah? So I've gone on to Rivermead Global's Facebook page and I contacted like 15, 20 people. Just copied and pasted the same message. Hello, I'm based in the UK. I'm planning on buying a property in Egypt. I'm a bit skeptical. Is it really real, or is it like, you know, what was your experience buying a property through Rivermead Global and that? Something along those lines. It was a very long time ago. We're talking 7 years ago and that's boom. So anyway, I don't know, half of the people so about 7 people got back to me like, yeah, it's legit. Like, yeah, it was a bit slow and that, but, you know, in Egypt, things run a bit slower than the UK and that. You know, the UK is slow, so Egypt's a bit slower and that. But yeah, it was all legit and that. They even mentioned the solicitor that I was put in contact with. It's the same guy, yeah? I can't remember what his name was, but it began with an R, Mr. R, something like that. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, you know, this must be legit and that. Anyway, next thing you know, I remember I went down to the NatWest in Enfield Town. I'm from Edmonton, we got a NatWest, so it's not there no more. They shut it down, shut down a lot of the high street banks. RIP Santander, Upper Edmonton, RIP NatWest, Upper Edmonton and that. But anyway, so on a Saturday, the NatWest Edmonton wasn't open, it's closed. So I went down to the NatWest in Enfield Town. And yeah, I transferred the money over on a Saturday. Done it like, I can't remember, some obviously international payment crap or whatever, innit? And yeah, man bought the property. So when because I think I had to put down like a deposit and then I had to put down the rest of the money. But pretty much I spent like 8,600 or something like that on the property. It's been like 7 years, still ain't been out there. But yeah, once I spent that 8,000, whatnot, I put myself in the deep end. I was left down to like £500, which made me be desperate for a job, which made me go out and look for a job. And yeah, I remember I got a couple jobs and I got fired from a couple jobs. I remember there was these 2 workplaces in particular, Polytech and Axis. I went for about 3 or 4 job interviews on the same day. I went for a job interview at first. The company's called Polytech. Went for the job interview. As I left the place and was on my way to my other job interview, the guy contacted me via email, "You've got the job." So I thought, all right, let me go and check out this job interview, this Axis place. I think I had to go to either Stratford or Vauxhall, one of the two, I can't remember. So then, boom. No, it was actually Stratford, near Maryland. So I went down there, sat the interview and that, and I ended up getting the job as well. Now me, like a damn idiot at the time, I accepted the Axis job over the Polytech job because there was one painting in the office. Yo, you ain't seen a girl with eyes like this before, trust me, fam. Yeah. So yeah, I've accepted that job. Now with the Axis job, I ended up getting fired from the job because one of the coordinators that, you know, issue at work and that, like, I don't know this girl from nowhere. Like, I spoke to her a few times. I remember I was at one of my ex things yard sitting in her living room, and I got a phone call coming to my phone, answered it. When are you finishing your lunch? I got a job that, who the fuck you talking to? But I went mad. Blast her on the phone, she got shook. One manager must have overheard because the girl must have been moving prang on the phone in the office. It's an office full of people, bare managers and that. He tried to jump on the phone, try turn it to some Captain Saver. I blasted his rascal as well. Went into the office the next day, got fired. Then I went back to the Polytech job that I originally turned down because obviously I accepted the Axis job. Went there, lasted a month. The man, they were trying to, bruv, you can't test me. I'll blast you. So I had to set on a few people as well. Ended up getting fired from that job. And yeah, boy, that year there, so that would have been, if I completed on the property in 2017, yeah, it would have been 2018. I was just hopping from job to job to job. I was just getting fired from bare jobs in 2018. That was mad. But that put me in a position to be hungry and that. And I remember like finishing when I was at that Polytech job before I got fired. And I remember going down to like Poplar doing work at midnight and then going home and that.